Okay, let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium's movie review of I Love My Dad, the newest film from director James Morosini. So, directed, written, and co-starring James Morosini, who plays Franklin, the son of Patton Oswalt's Chuck character. This movie follows Chuck, who is a very, what you would call, not great father. He is a very kind of distant father who's never really been there for his son, and his son went through some mental situations, a breakdown, almost committed suicide, so he's been trying to reconnect with his son Franklin, but he's been ghosted, he's been blocked, and so he decides, because he met this young woman named Becca at this restaurant, that he is going to, in essence, fake her as a individual that likes Franklin. So he creates an account. He's basically catfishing his own son, which basically he starts to get him interested in her, which allows him to reconnect with his son, which basically leads to some very interesting concepts and ideas that may or may not be comfortable for a lot of people. So this is a very interesting movie, to be fairly honest. It's a movie that I only knew from the positive reviews that I read. I didn't know much about this film in general. I actually didn't even realize it was directed and stars the same actor. It was a movie that, it has Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt's a fantastic actor. He's fun. He's entertaining. He's known for doing, very crass but very interesting commentary on stuff in the world as a comedian. But I didn't know where I was going when I decided to sit down and watch this movie. Thankfully, the company allowed me to see it early, so thank you for that. But I didn't know what I was getting myself into, to be fairly honest. I did read something about father having sex with his son, but I had to be like, there's more probably to it than that. It doesn't sound, maybe I'm not reading this right. It just sounded really weird. And so for my for my honest review of this movie, it's a pretty decent movie, to be fairly honest. It actually reminds me of I Love You, Philip Morris and The World's Greatest Dad in its tone and its feel and its subject matter. And I don't mean in the sense of it's like the exact same movie, but this is a very offbeat comedy with some very disturbing tropes, to be fairly honest, when it comes to like what parents are willing to do to reconnect with their kids, how far they're willing to go, and the levels of depravity that comes with that when you kind of commit to the role. And I guess I have to give it to Patton Oswalt and James Morosini and even Claudia Sulewski. They really committed to this movie, to be fairly honest. Claudia Sulewski has to basically perform two different roles in this movie. One is the imaginary girlfriend to the James Morosini character, Franklin, and she has to portray a real world character, which has no idea what's being put upon her. And I found that very fascinating. I really did. I think she is actually the kind of the standout of this movie, to be fairly honest. She really is putting all her eggs in this basket of this character, and she does a really nice job. She really does. It's just watching somebody realize what's happening as this movie moves along and realizing that it is being basically put in the form of a creep like Chuck's character is yeah, it's a really hard thing to do. And on top of that, I think Patton Oswalt's great in this movie. I'm not like discounting what he's doing. It's a very difficult role that he's had to take on as an individual that has to commit to the game of being a catfisher without realizing he's catfishing to get close to his son, and the levels that he has to do it. Even his friend, who's played by Lil Rel Howery, basically says, "Why are you doing this?" On top of that, he has a girlfriend who's played by Rachel Dratch, and it's like as she starts learning about what he's doing as well, it's like, dude, this guy's sick. This guy is willing to do whatever it takes to be with his son. And that is the kind of the lesson of this movie is you got to be there for your kids as you move through your life, because if you're not only will they come to resent you later on and not even want to talk to you, but in the long run, it might have some very difficult effects when it comes to the way the kids grow up and stuff like that. So it's a really dark movie in a lot of aspects. It is really heartwarming in a lot of aspects that he's willing to try. It's just going to go down routes that you may not feel comfortable with watching, and that's totally understandable. And the reason I compare this to like I Love You, Philip Morris with Jim Carrey, and World's Greatest Dad with Robin Williams, is because they're individuals with well-meaning intentions and well-meaning ideas, but they actually do stuff so what I would call unscrupulous and kind of disturbing that it actually puts a lot of weirdness to their character. But the movie's so entertaining and energetic with what it's doing that you almost kind of forgive it for what it's worth, and that is the purpose of filmmaking and films in general, or movies as you want to call them. You allow like the director, writer, or director and the writer to do a story, like for instance here James Morosini, and It really does work, to be fairly honest, as disturbing and weird and creepy as it can get. It does definitely have a heart to it and a beat to it that really makes the movie stand out in a lot of respects. So I have to give the director, who's also the supporting actor in this movie, a lot of credit, because they are telling a story about fathers with regrets and the idea of the sons who, you know, sometimes just don't want to deal with the situation, and they go to places that are very dark in the nature of like what happens in Frankie's character in this movie. But I do love the message that, you know, sometimes finding a way to reconnect with your family member, your son, your daughter, whoever. Sometimes you're willing to go to lengths to do it, and that's what happens in this movie. It's just as we as we see from his friend, Chuck's friend, and his, you know, what somewhat girlfriend. Maybe he needed to find a different route. Maybe he needed to allow this relationship with his son to kind of like work itself out in the long run, because later on down the road his son may forgive him and so on and so forth. So in the end, this is still an interesting kind of powerful movie in a lot of respects. It does have commentary on things that do fit in today's society, but it is a very disturbing movie. Is dealing with some very disturbing taboo subject matter, and yeah, it's just it's a really interesting movie that fits in, like I said, the I Love You Philip Morris / World's Greatest Dad kind of camp, I guess you could say. So with that said, still recommend just going what you're going to get out of this movie. So, but with that said, that is my take, of course, of I Love My Dad, the newest film from the director, writer, actor James Morosini. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below, let me know if you've seen this movie. Did you like it? Are you looking forward to this movie? All that good stuff. But otherwise, if you like what you saw on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you liked the video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.